Hello, it's John Salmon, and welcome again to our Digital Assets Summit. I'm delighted to be joined today by Will Paul, who is the co-chair of the GDF Payments Forum. So Will and I spend quite a lot of time together, poor Will. I'm delighted that he's one of our speakers on the panel later. And Will, do you want to just tell us about yourself and what you do at Block?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me, John. It's great to be at the Hogan Lovells Digital Asset Conference, and it's great to be back in a beautiful city again. So my name is Will Paul. I head up public policy for payments and hardware at Block. Block is a global financial services technology company. So really we build tools to increase economic empowerment for everyday users. So specifically in the UK, you've probably heard us better as Square, which is an SMB point of sale terminal, and also ClearPay, a BNPL provider. In the US, we also have Cash App, a significant financial services player. And on the Bitcoin side, we've launched BitKey, our self-custody Bitcoin wallet, as well as Proto, our mining machine. So very invested in both kind of traditional finance, but also the kind of new digital asset infrastructure area.
Yeah, and your background is in HM Treasury in the UK, and you've now moved to New York, so you're kind of got foot in both camps, right?
Absolutely.
To some extent. I mean, it's been fascinating, right, the last year and the changes that Trump and that has made to US policy in digital assets. What is your take on it and how this is going to affect the US market?
Yeah, I think it's hard to really put into frame just how much of a sea change we've seen. I struggle to think of a 180 in the amount of time that we've seen from the US government. So I think this comes from the president, as you're saying, it comes from his appointees. And I think we're seeing kind of two large tracks in the US at the moment. Legislatively, we've had the Genius Act, which was sort of setting up the market for stablecoins, thinking about how we're going to regulate that. That passed in July this year, and we're now on to making the detailed implementation regulation. So excited to see that progress. But we've also seen significant progress, importantly, in crypto market structure. So everything sort of not stablecoins to give confidence to those users. And just for the, in the Senate, of course, you need a bipartisan agreement. So that's been very exciting to see, not just Republicans, but also Democrats be really enthusiastic about this technology. And then on the regulatory side, again, we've seen probably more of a change than in Congress. We've seen the SEC come out and, I think drop lawsuits, invite companies in to talk about their products, be much more forward-thinking in how they're looking to work with companies on that. I think importantly for us, it's a bit more techie piece, but they basically dropped something called SAB 121, which was very restrictive on how you could custody these assets.
Well hated throughout the
Well
industry.
hated, yes. Yeah. And I think what that's done is it's given overall a sense of confidence to companies. So if you're institutional, we see larger participants very confident in being part of this, in this kind of area, doing things for clients, building out. We've seen firms start to think about new payment methods. So, for example, Stripe recently, with a consortium, launched a new sort of blockchain that they think is going to revolutionize payments, which I think comes from that certainty. And I think more importantly, we've seen that confidence for consumers. Consumers are now saying, well, I heard about this previously. I was told maybe not the right thing, but actually I'm going to take another look at it. And here at Block, we've definitely seen that. On the Bitcoin space, there's been huge enthusiasm. I think it's raised questions about why our current financial system is the way it is. I think it's raised questions about who it's for. And consumers are asking us to do more. And so we've been able to launch products, for example, Bitcoin payments on Square. Our new self-custody wallet has expanded. Our Proto mining machine has also expanded. And that's because we have that confidence and that certainty in the future and where the direction of travel is. So to sum up, incredibly positive, incredibly welcome. Start of a journey, but very much an excellent start to the journey.
And the Clarity Act, which is the other bit of US legislation, what's your take on when that's going to be passed and what impact that's going to have?
Excellent question. And if I knew the actual answer, I'd be down there playing the lottery because I'd be a very rich man. I think it's a difficult time, and I say this as a former kind of government official too. There's so many things a government and a Congress has to do. So Congress at the moment, for example, is debating a shutdown. It might run out of money. It's debating what it wants to do about kind of elections next year. It's got other legislation it needs to pass. Congress too, of course, has to pass at the end of the year sort of a reauthorization for defense. So there's a lot of things on the plate here. We've seen the House already pass their version of Clarity, which is very welcome. We've seen the Senate begin to discuss it. I think my concerns with the progress has been that the Senate obviously needs that 60 votes.
Yeah.
The Democrats felt like there was a lot given over as part of Genius and maybe they didn't get quite back what they wanted.
Yeah.
And also the Senate has taken quite a different approach in regulating and setting out which assets are commodities, which are securities. So there's a lot of technical stuff to be discussed. The good news is that the intention is there. The president's very clear in his desire.
Yeah.
The leaders are very clear in their desire. And also the Democrats have kind of put out what they would like to see. So really, all the pieces are there. I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll see where that's going. I'm hopeful we'll get legislation, if not by the end of the year, early next year.
Yeah.
And we're very much supportive of them pressing on again this right before the midterms, importantly.
Yeah, excellent. And do you think that all of this is going to have an impact on the UK?
Absolutely. So one thing we've heard a lot from regulators here is like, we are thinking about our structure and our purpose, but we have to fit in with the wider trends, what's going on. I think Genius especially has given sort of not just regulators here, but importantly politicians, a real sort of urgency.
Yeah.
I think previously we'd seen MiCA from the EU and it being like the EU is ahead of it, but we think that's one approach. The US going from 0 to 100 in such a short amount of time has said to the Chancellor, to the Prime Minister, that if they don't speed up their progress, they're going to fall behind.
Yep.
And for a kind of financial services capital like London, for a nation that has already been very good at payments and very innovative in that sense, that is not great. So I think that confidence from the US, confidence they're going to continue on that, and importantly, shared learnings for regulators to ease them into understanding that risk is great and is really important for making sure that the conversation here continues at pace. So absolutely, and I'm hopeful that not just the implementation of stablecoins, but also that market structure will bring that kind of experience and learnings and help the UK to also get its regulatory and legislative approach sort of set.
Yeah. And do you think, I mean, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in the panel later, but what's your kind of feel for where we're going to end up on digital asset payment leg, right? I mean, this is probably one of the most important parts of the journey that people don't always think about. Do you see it as tokenized deposits? Do you see it as stablecoins? Do you see it as like something like Finality, which is what they call public-private partnership? Is it something else? What is your prediction?
I think that the Deputy Governor of the Bank of England had a great phrase there. She called it the multi-moneyverse. I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see consumers increasingly from the younger generation demand that money is as instant, as accessible as they're used to the internet being. So in the US, Cash App is a huge brand. We have 57 million kind of monthly acting transactives. A lot of those are the kind of younger people, teenagers. And the feedback we get from them is, I don't understand why the system is so slow. I don't understand why the system doesn't work for me. And I want it to work in the same sort of way and purpose the internet does. I want to go onto that site and be able to access it. I want to send my friends payments. So I think one thing I think is going to happen is you're going to have multiple forms of payments across multiple different avenues. And it's not going to matter to consumer. The important thing for companies, for builders, for regulators and legislators is making it work seamlessly without the complexity of, well, what am I sending to who and when? Some fantastic companies doing that. I know that Block is thinking very carefully about how we support our consumers in doing so. So I think definitely a plethora. And then also importantly, I think we're going to see the social aspect of money really develop. So people, I think we started with likes and sort of emojis was the 2010s way of doing it. And I think the approach we're seeing is almost put your money where your mouth is. And so we see if you like a creator on Discord, you like a creator talking to you, you can micro zap them sub units of account to demonstrate actually you're not just pressing a button, you are putting something behind it. So there's that integrity point. And also people are increasingly pooling their money, sharing their money, looking at new ways they can use money as a social means, as they've used to for the internet. So I think a lot of change is going to come in the next 10, 20 years. Exactly where that ends up is hard to say. I always recall the video of the man at KFC back in the 90s, and I think they just introduced credit cards, and he's on camera, and they say, is this the future? And he says, I don't think this will catch on. So I don't want to quite end up in that angle, but I think that we're going to see a velocity to the kind of range of money used. And what's important is to have that open discussion and debate as we go through it, but let consumers drive what they want to see.
Brilliant. Thank you, Will, so much for taking the time to speak to us. Very much looking forward to further discussion at the summit, and thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you.